Hi, welcome back again. This video is going to be another video about the Hexa Pen kit, just to explain in a bit further detail as to what you can do with it. Now, we've had one or two comments to say, well, I really don't like the fact that there's a huge step between the cap and the body. And just to, forgive the pun, a recap on why that is. When you take the cap off, you have a seamless transition between the nib section and the main body. There are no steps, there are no threads, there are no nothing. It means you get a step between the cap and the body. You cannot have it both ways. It's physically impossible. However, this is turned using the bushing set, and what I'm going to do today is just show you two other ways that you, no, that's not true, three other ways that you can actually make the kit apart from this, so it reacts differently. So we're going to look at turning one of the blanks that I've got the same diameter as the flat part of the cap and see how that looks. Then we're going to turn one with the diameter of the pointed parts, the hexagonal parts, the widest part of the cap on the body, and see how that looks. And then that one I'm actually going to put in the vise and I'm going to plane it off, and I'm going to make a hexagonal body to match the hexagonal top. It sounds difficult. It really isn't that difficult, I can assure you. I'm not a magician. If I can do it, most of you out there will be able to do it. It takes a bit of thought, it takes a bit of imagination, and whilst I don't want to upset anyone, if your idea of turning a pen is to polish a 60mm bit of plastic, this probably isn't for you. But what we try to do with our kits is break from the norm and just, there's the amount of suppliers out there all doing the same kits. They're 10 a penny. They're just, frankly, they just don't interest us. So we're going down the route of actually looking fundamentally at the design of a pen kit, looking at something different that might be a little bit more challenging, because for this we are, whilst I'm going to use bushings, I'm actually going to measure the parts, and just looking at things a different way, because I have to confess that interests me. Just doing a tube at one size, for me it gets a bit boring after a while. So we've got one pen kit and we're going to look at four, well, we've looked at one already, three other different ways. So in total 4 different ways that you can make this kit work and be a little bit different. We hope, like some of our other kits, to be completely different to anything else currently on the market. I'm going to stop wittering as I normally do and get accused of, and I've got some blanks ready. I'll take you through step by step. I'm not going to finish these. I'm just going to show you the interaction between the cap and the body and how that works with the parts of the pen. What I forgot to tell you is the other reason for doing this is because we've now got the Hexa in a rollerball kit. There we go. Right, onto the turning. Okay, so I've got my blank, I've got my bushing set here. I'm going to turn the blank just roughly round, and at this point do not turn this down to the measurement of the blank. That's the most important bit for the first example. Having got my blank roughly round and larger than the bushings, I'm going to take my pen cap and I'm going to take a measurement across between the flat sides, and it is 13.07mm. I'm going to just tidy off my calipers there. Try not to scratch the cap if you can. I haven't scratched mine, but that's just something to be aware of. And that is now the diameter that I'm going to turn this blank to, and we'll see how it interacts with the cap when we put the pen together. What I'm also going to do is just curve off the end of that just ever so slightly. Now at this point the calipers don't quite fit over the edge. They're very close, but of course we've got a bit of sanding to do. So I'm going to just sand this down. I've got a slight taper on this piece, slightly thinner at this end than this end. Don't forget, whatever finish that you put on here, you'll have to put a little bit on the ends. That can be done afterwards. I'm just going to put some sanding sealer on here now. I've fitted my little brass insert screw there so I can fit the nib, and then we can see, hopefully you can see there, that we get a much closer fit from the body to the pen cap, and that is the second way of doing these. This time, once again, I'm going to take my cap and my calipers, but I'm actually going to measure point to point. So the very widest part of the pen cap there, and that is 14.89 millimeters. Again, careful not to scratch the cap. And I'll again lock my calipers off at that distance. We'll now turn to that. Now, turning this diameter means that we can get either a round pen body the same diameter as the outside points, and that is also what you need to do before you plane the sides flat if you want a hexagonal body. So I've popped my little thread in there, and I've got my nib section. I'll just screw that on there, and there you can see this is the compromise you make. You now have a step between your pen body and the nib. You can still hold it, but it doesn't feel as nice as the other one, but it reacts differently with the cap, and you might prefer the look of that. To me, it's more important to have it comfortable and nice when it's actually being written with, but we're all a bit different. So hopefully you can see that there is level with the outside points of the pen cap. Now what I'm going to do is take this over to the vise, and I'm actually going to plane it off. Now before I go over to the vise, I've obviously got my nib connector in there. I'm going to connect the nib section into the pen body, clip the cap on, and with a very sharp pencil I'm going to mark the points, each of the 6 points on the body, so I know exactly where it is that I need to trim down to with my plane. I'm not going to do that on camera because I won't get it right, and then we'll move across to the other side of the workshop and you'll see me just plane this off by hand. So I hope you can see the little pencil marks I've put on there. Let's move that away a bit. See the little pencil marks I've put on there. So what I'm now going to do is take the cap off and the nib off, and I'm actually going to set this in my vise, and I'm actually just going to plane these parts off by hand. It's important when you start that you get this bit on here absolutely flat, and if you're used to working with a hand plane, you'll be used to that. It's not impossible. I'm going to leave a little bit just sticking out at the end of the vise because it enables me to hold it, and it'll also enable me just to check the fit with the cap, which is what I'm going to do as I go along. Not too much pressure, otherwise you'll crush this part. My vise here has got it's an old leather belt inside here. It grips it quite nicely and enables you just to run a normal, this is a record hand plane number 5. I'm just going to very gradually just plane off not quite tight enough. There we go. And you can see I'm just heading towards those pencil marks here. When we've done the one side here, what I'm then going to do is turn it 180 degrees and do the exact opposite side. And basically just carry on all the way round. So I'm just going to work each edge just gradually. Let's have a look and see how we're doing. Well, to be honest, I think actually that's quite a good fit. So I'm going to get some fine sandpaper, just fine finish this. You don't want really sharp edges. I'm also going to fine finish the end, give that a little bit of sanding sealer and a little bit of wax and a little bit of a polish, and then I'll put that together and you can see how this one is. But I hope you've seen that a hand plane, a vise, a block of wood and a bit of sandpaper, it's really not that difficult to make a hexagonal body for your pen. Right, I've had a little polish. Let's have a look and see how we've got on. Sorry, absolutely covered in filth, this dust. All the parts, but you can see there I've got a hexagonal body and a hexagonal lid that match, and I'm quite happy with that. I think that's really quite a nice and unique product, and I hope I've shown you it's not impossible to make a hexagonal body pen. I've got all my bags of gubbins and bits. That's the original one that you saw me hold up at the start. That's turned down to the bushings round. This is the other one that we did, turned to the diameter of the flat parts of the cap, so you can see that one there. And this one, because I'm quite happy with this one, I'm going to put this one together. They come with Schmidt refills, the rollerball models, so I'm going to pop that in there, pop my hexagonal body onto there, and now it's just ready for the cap. I've already pushed the chrome end cap in, so it's a round end cap. You can make this end however you like basically, so that is what it looks like. But as I said at the start, this is where you get the compromise. You get a little step between the body and the nib, which isn't why it was designed, but you can do it that way. There we go, and there's my hexagonal bodied pen and cap. What I really hope I've done with the video is show you that these things are not to be frightened of. They're not that difficult. I can't say it's perfect. I think I probably would have done a much better job had I not been talking to you and filming what I was doing at the same time. But I think it's quite an acceptable result. If you have a CNC machine, you could probably set it up to do it absolutely perfectly, but it wouldn't be handmade, would it? So thanks very much for watching. I hope I've given you some ideas and maybe something new to try with this pen kit. And when you pick it up, the last thing I have to say is it's a lovely pen kit. The cap alone weighs 20 grams, so you've got a nice heavy cap, gives it a good solid feel. However, this part is actually quite nice and light to write with. I'll stop whittering. Thanks very much for watching. Enjoy your turning, planing, whatever it is you do, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.